Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I think before we get into the business of funding private education, I think we ought to take a look at how we fund public education. And I'm glad the debate arose this morning because there seems to be a myth around that while we've been about budget cuts, we've somehow spared K-12. Well, I think if you look at the facts, you'll find them quite different. Now, the composite index, we're supposed to, at the state level, fund 55% of the cost of public education. Well, do the math right now. What the math will show you is we're currently at 44%. Required 55, we're at 44. So if we want to talk about funding education for all children, I would suggest to you that we make up that difference, that we take a look at how we expend our funds, the priorities we have for job creation, for developing our economy, and look at making up that difference. What that translates to in terms of per pupil cost is in 2009, we were providing $5,274, $5,274 per student for state funding in K-12. This year, that number's down, Mr. Speaker, to $4,519. In other words, you're giving our localities $700 on the average less than we were doing just a couple of years ago. So when we get into the debate about how it is we're going to do with funding private education, I'd say we step back. And for heaven's sakes, let's not get into any more of these mandates about telling localities that we're so smart here in Richmond that if you just simply came to that 65% number, everything would be fine. I would say let's come to the 55% number, and the 55% number is what the state needs to be putting into public education as part of the average across the state. Now, if you go to the college level, the picture's no better. And I will tell you the difference here is more than $50 million, thanks to the governor for putting $50 million in, but it's a drop in the bucket for the needs. We are now, if you take a look at four-year colleges and universities, we've dropped 40% in funding for higher education since 2000. We went from $10,675 average per student to this year when we're funding $6,586. In other words, we've dropped since 2000 $4,000 per student in higher education funding. Mr. Speaker, I think we need to have this debate, and the debate needs to be about how we're going to fund our public schools, K-12 and colleges and universities before we start talking about investments in private schools. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.